Are you tired of me sending you Kendrick Lamar clips?
No, man. I've been obsessed with that thing. It's so wild.
What's going
I
on?
watched
Okay,
a lot of that I watched a lot of the live
Marcus, I'm
concert.
removing you.
I watched a
Did you watch
ton of the
concert?
live.
Me and Sharon, like, we got to see it.
Here's what's wild. So this looks like a 3-hour concert. It's mostly just him on stage. It is one of the most minimalistic concerts I've ever seen.
Well, the one that he did in France, did you see that one? I was like, oh, he's on that level. There's few people who can take a whole audience of 20,000 people or 10,000 people and then by themselves on stage entertain them.
Yeah.
He started out.
He's like an old school MC. He's not. Yeah.
But he was horrible on stage, yo. He used to be horrible on stage.
In the old one, or you haven't seen the new one?
No, I haven't seen the new one yet. But one of the things that Drake hit him on was like, "Yo, back in the day, you were bad on like everybody knows he was bad on stage. Like he didn't. He even said it himself in one video, like, yeah, that wasn't it." Yeah.
Is he like Miles Davis, where he doesn't know how to connect with the crowd?
I think he hadn't found himself yet.
Okay.
He was, I mean, he was coming up, Drake was already a thing. Drake put him on his tour.
Okay.
So he was kind of opening, and I think he might have had some moments where he bombed or whatnot. And
can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we can. You still look out focused though.
Oh, okay.
I can expect that with Jason. I expect that with him. But with you, I expect a lot better. I'm very disappointed right now. All right, so I shouldn't do this because this is not really what I expected us to talk about. I was, oh man, I should find it. I was watching a video, and I'll find it later. I'll bring it back up later. I was watching a video about a guy saying, look, I'm all about Black culture. I'm all about the culture. Like, I'm down. Did I send you that, Jason? I thought I sent you that one, right?
I think you did. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, I'm all down for it. But I went to this place, this store, and it was a white girl who was serving me, and I could have swore she was into me. He's like, but I don't really think she was. I think she was just being nice. And I ain't had nobody be nice to me who was a woman like that. It kind of messed me up. And he was like, because sisters, man, they, even when they being nice, they being mean, like, oh, with your big head self. And that's them being cute, like, oh, you look ugly. And they trying to really tell you looking good. And so he's like, everything that comes out is not encouraging. And so it doesn't give me the kind of, like, I'm doing all right, I'm doing good. And they started running this calculation of what women do to men. And it made me really think about the idea that inside of Equalizer 3, they couldn't do that movie here in America. Because ultimately, what made that movie work was a woman.
Right? That was the hinge point.
That was the hinge point that made that Joker lose his mind. Right. So anyway, I'll get into that. But because when I ran into Marcus at church on Sunday, Marcus, I was talking to somebody and he usually like says hi and passes by or whatever. That Joker waited because he had to talk about Kendrick Lamar. And
I needed somebody to talk to about Kendrick.
And not gonna lie, I'm here for it because something happened. I've been sending Jason. How many videos have like we've been passing back and forth? I think I've been outdoing you on these, but
on this time around, you've been winning.
But at least 25, 30 videos, maybe 50. They're everywhere. And
yeah,
I was a little late to the Kendrick Lamar party, and the whole Drake beef. I got in probably like right as the last when they did BBL Drizzy. Baby Eldridge. When that one dropped, I was like, it's game over. Like, you can't come back.
Missed him on the drums.
Boy, he never tell a producer to shut up and make beats.
You going to diss me on the drums? Yeah, I'll diss you on the drums. What?
So it was like the whole thing. I was like, okay, that's a cool beef. Like, okay, Kendrick Lamar wants to be crowned the #1 hip hop artist. But yo, it's way more than that than what's going on. And I think evangelicals are so ignorant about it. It's kind of disappointing that they don't see this moment. Anyway, Marcus, you had a whole bunch you want to say. So I'm just, before we get to the E3 stuff, I'm gonna let you have your Kendrick Lamar moment and get it all out.
No, I just, when you look at what Kendrick did, is he wrote a song, basically a war song, that is used to fight enemies, right? So it's basically a psalm. It's a psalm to a false god, right? Kendrick worships himself or whatever. But here you have a guy who wrote a song. I think hip hop's really great as a modern day psalm, because they talk about their enemies, they talk about defeating their enemies, they talk about injustice and all those sort of things that says in hip hop that we don't ever like really think about that. I was telling you, I was like, man, I could do a whole podcast on hip hop as modern day psalms.
Market.
Because people don't think about it. We don't like compare hip hop with K-Love music or mainstream modern Christian evangelicalism music. That we don't have any enemies. It's all pure emotionalism. It's all feel good and meaningless repetition.
It's about to get heavy. Wait, hold on. I just no, it's about to get heavy. I just sent Sharon a text message to come on in this show because we about to go 4 deep up in this joint. Because last night she was. Oh, I'm not even gonna say. Keep going. When she pops in, I'm just gonna add her into the chat because Sharon got.
Well, it's funny because I was talking to your wife about this because you were in a conversation for so long. I just went to your wife. I was like, "Can I talk to you about Kendrick?" And she said, "David hasn't stopped."
I haven't.
So no, but I mean, you see it. When you see what for those, I guess for those that don't know, like Kendrick Lamar wrote a song. He went after Drake, called him a pedo. With
you're getting real simplistic with this, but go ahead. That's the easy way.
I know. I'm trying to just jump to the Not Like Us song. There's several other songs that came before it and back and forth, but like that was the one. Well, Not Like Us was a hit.
Everybody knows. Yeah, but
diss tracks aren't usually hits.
No, not like this. Not like this.
Yeah, not like this. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
You have to go back though to the big 3. So because that's really what Jason, you look like you ready to jump in and say something.
I'm just waiting my turn.
Okay, all right. I'm not going to be kind on this one. I'm just going to be all over the place with this one. There has not been a reigning crown of hip hop in a long time. I mean, Drake was holding it down, but he was kind of like, remember that era when Jordan left and you had people who were winning championships? Does anybody remember who they were? No, but they were there. They were holding it down.
Yeah.
And then we were happy to watch the games because it was still NBA, but it just wasn't Jay. And there hasn't been anybody to really hold down hip hop in a long, long time. And I think Drake was a guy who was kind of enough for us, right? Like, oh, it was cool. And so then the big 3 comes out and Kendrick says, I want hip hop. Like, I want to claim it. I want to claim all like hip hop. I want it. It's mine. He's like, there's no J. Cole was holding it down. I gotta give some love to J. Cole. J. Cole was legit. But it still was like, he's cool. He was like, that's a good Kobe. You know what I mean? Like, that's a good dude. He's hot. Like, he can play. But dominant, there hasn't been anybody dominant,
right?
Since Pac, really, right? Has there been anybody dominant since him? I mean, you had
killed Tupac.
Yeah, but so that era. So when he comes out and he says, he's basically F the big 3, it's just big me. He's like, there's not a throne that fits 3 people. Right? He's like, just a throw one. And he just basically said, like, no, there ain't no big three. Cause they were like, oh, yeah, it's the big three. You got Kendrick, you got Jay, you got Drake. And he's just like, no, there's no I want the throne. And when he did that, he said that went out through the reverb, through the airways, and then J. Cole came back with a diss track. J. Cole knew that wasn't his moment. He knew it. I mean, if there's only one winner in this, it's J. Cole.
Can he pull it out?
Pulled out, yeah.
He said,
J. Cole was brilliant. He knew, like, he said, something in my spirit when I released that track just didn't sit right. And I think what he really meant was, I don't have the hunger for that throne.
Yeah.
I don't have the ability to feel that.
And Kendrick was the one. So I don't think Drake had any idea what he was getting into. Because I think if he did, I don't think he would have.
Nobody knew what he was getting into, though. Nobody knew what was happening. Nobody in the culture knew what was happening. That came out of left field.
It did, but I think Drake has been. I mean, he's been used to being Disney Channel Drake for so long, surrounded by producers, having everybody, having a team do his stuff for him, that when he stepped up and ran into Kendrick, it was like, oh, this is the you. When he didn't know what it was like to be real and depend on the art anymore, if he ever did. But that's a different question. But Kendrick knew exactly what he was fighting for, and Drake didn't.
All right, Marcus, I just wanted to throw that in and interrupt you real quick. No. I think that was important to know, that it wasn't just like one diss track came out. It was somebody made a calculated effort to say, I wanted to own hip hop.
Yeah.
I wanted to own the culture.
That's right. And I think, and then you get to Not Like Us, which came out like didn't Kendrick drop 3 diss tracks in a row before Drake could put out another one, and then Not Like Us happened. And then, I mean, that song just it's got 42 million. Last I looked, it had 42 million views on YouTube. But then Amazon Prime did a live concert. This is where we get to I've never seen anything like this. Amazon Prime does a live concert, and the last half hour, Dr. Dre comes out, and Dr. Dre does his song. And then Dr. Dre, as he leaves the stage, says, what's the first line? I see dead people. That was the first line of Not Like Us song. And when Dr. Dre said, I see dead people, the whole arena just went nuts. And then Kendrick started performing Not Like Us, which has that line, was straight. What's anybody know the line better than me? I don't want to mess it up, but A minor.
Hold on, I'm trying to get.
He meant to strike a chord, but it's really A minor. Like that's the song, right? Yeah. So I called him out as a pedophile, and then the audience just does the whole lyrics with. I mean, Kendrick could just point the mic at any moment, and the audience is singing the entire track.
Marcus, here's the thing. A lot of stuff, but I'm gonna let you.
You can fill in any details.
It's not that he just did the song. First of all, the audience, everybody's singing the song. Everybody's singing the song. They not like us. They not us. And when he goes wop 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 wop. Okay, I shouldn't even know the song this much, but I do. I do. It's everywhere. I can't turn on my feed and not see it. And so, but he sings the song 5 or 6 times. The count is off on how some people say 5 times, other people say 6 times. Nobody in any concert that I know of has sung any song 6 times. And we just go rewind it back. And some people say that every time Kendrick got the wrong words on the last verse, every time. And it didn't matter. Song 6 times in a live concert back to back. Not like one in the beginning, one in the middle, one more time. No. Play that back. Done. Play that back. Done. You understand
Right.
Like, what? Like, okay, you can go now. I'm trying to get Sharon.
Yeah. No. That I mean, like, imagine. I mean, he went straight Hillsong. just, just on loop.
No,
And-
We've been singing this song
no, no,
forever.
no, that's not fair. That's a
No,
verse
that's
in
not.
the song.
Yeah,
He
that's right.
literally ended the song and started it over again. Hillsong.
I know. No, I know. But I think like that was such a cultural moment because, and then at the end too, the last 2 times or 3 times he did the song, he had Bloods and Crips get up there, people from Compton and Inglewood. He was wearing the outfit that Tupac wore on the night of the Source Awards, or playing homage to the outfit that Tupac wore on the night of the Source Awards. Everything was so thought out in that moment.
Who was wearing that? Who was wearing that?
Kendrick was wearing the red outfit that and the crucifix cross that it was paying homage to what Tupac wore the night of the Source Awards.
That's funny.
The red outfit
After Drake, because the outfits that Drake had on when he did, you used to call me on the cell phone. Like he was wearing that and doing the same dance Drake was doing in the like. So I don't know who he was paying homage to or who he was mocking, but
yeah,
doing the same dance move from the music video that Drake doing. And anyway, keep going.
Yeah. I just think it's like I just when I watch this performance, and when you hear about this and you see it's covering the news, it's trending on Twitter, like the only thing that goes through my mind is like, why don't we have any artistic moments in Christian culture that are that impactful? Like we don't have anything. There's nothing that's reaching younger generations. There's nothing that's really making like news in a meaningful way. We might get like Sound of Freedom that maybe breaks box office records, but it doesn't really do anything. It doesn't end the career of evil people. I mean, I was telling my wife, I was like, could you imagine if we had art and it was like this moment with Kendrick on stage, but it's just trashing the trans movement, and you just have a whole audience just cheering and reciting the lyrics, just ending the trans movement. We could put in, you could substitute Drake for whatever our major, Hillary Clinton, like whatever, doesn't matter. Like you could put whatever that is, and I like we just don't have it. We don't have a view of art that says art can be used to make kings and destroy our enemies. And that's what the Psalms do. That's what Christian art, I think, does. I mean, even you look at like Martin Luther and A Mighty Fortress Is Our God. There's all enemies in that music. There's enemies and there's overcoming evil. And then we get to basically the music of Lifeway Christian bookstore moms. That is the key market, and it's just it's just soft and emotion inward enemies, right? It's always about the bad relationships or internal motivations, but it's never about, hey, the trannies are coming after my kid, so we should make some music. We should make art. We should use that as a weapon. That just doesn't happen.
Go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah, no, I no, like me and Jason, we speak to a lot of people within the Christian film industry, high up within the Christian film industry, and there's no category for art that creates culture that's outside of just this audience. There's no category for that. Like you say, we want to make content for Gen Z. Logan Paul had Trump on. He did Prime Energy drinks. Logan Paul's fighting Mike Tyson. His audience is all, Gen Z. He became a billionaire, and there's just no category for that. I think that's what happens when you say, children should be removed from church during worship. You know, you have this separate service, and then you go, well, we can't build things for younger generations because they're too stupid to understand what's happening. We have to put them in this. And so I think that follows through to our business practices and those sort of things, because there's just no category for this idea that no, you can actually make content that us three who are 40-year-olds and then teenagers in high school are all talking about the same moment with Kendrick Lamar. It's just a massive cultural artistic movement that spans generations. That's not a discussion that takes place at Christian film festivals. It's not a discussion that takes place within Christian music, because there is no category for Gen Z content or Gen Alpha content or anything like that. There's nothing like it. And unless the content is for the moms, for the kids, right? So if you have, like children's programming, preschool programming, but there's no one that says, hey, we should really just start going after college students, because in the history of every major cultural media movement, the audience was college students, from Elvis to Woodstock to MTV to Cartoon Network, Adult Swim. It's all college age students. And then we don't have that category because I think it's covenantal. I think it's because we don't respect the children with the same honor as we do adults during worship, especially Baptist churches. But yes, that's my theory. I'm willing to stand on that. But we've created feminine worship, and that leads to feminine pastors and feminine churches. It all comes from the same place, and so.
I think too that there's a long game that we haven't been willing to play artistically, because this isn't Kendrick Lamar's first recording. He's been at it for a long time, building his craft. And when the moment hit, he was ready because he'd been, in it. And I think our artists can't. Because I think we want influence, and we think art is influential, and so we try and go out and get art that will be influential, rather than saying, hey, we've got artists that are going to serve an audience. We've got artists here that and are willing to play the long game, build our craft, build our skills. We aren't ready for the moments when they come. So I think that's a significant problem, as well, as we don't think of art in a human way. We think of it all in a we have bought into the power game mentality, that art is part of the power game, and we're not humans when it comes to art. And so, because Kendrick Lamar, his argument is he's not like us. He doesn't have a place. He's not defending any particular spot, any people. He didn't grow up in one of our neighborhoods, right? And so, I mean, there's a reason that the song right before was California with Dre. And because they could go through the neighborhoods of LA, and everybody could cheer for their neighborhood. And then Not Like Us comes on, and you know exactly what he means when he says not like us. He's not from where we're from. He wasn't from our neighborhood. He's not like us over here. Where is Drake? I mean, where is Drake from? What is he defending? What is he, at the Disney Channel? I don't. So I think that Drake, they basically said Drake is the Monkeys of rap. The band, wow. The Monkeys of rap, from the 60s, right? A cheap knockoff of the Beatles, which he probably is, but but he's not defending any particular place Um, I think Christian art is the same sort of thing. If it doesn't grow out of any sort of normal human way of thinking and doing things. Dante was pining for Florence. He was defending his place in Italy. All of that when he was, and then that was what made it universal. But you can't do that without building, for the long haul, artistically, and just starting with the people around you and saying, I'm making art for these people that I love, and then God decides how universal the art becomes. But you've got to actually make human art, and we don't do that. But I think it's wild. I think that AI comes along, and if you ask AI to write a Christian song, write a worship song, you literally can't tell the difference between an AI song and what's being written right now, because it's all derivative. It's made by even if it's not made directly by an algorithm, we think algorithmically about our art production. What's working right now? Let's make 10 more of those. And yeah, I don't think we have a system to develop our artists in the Christian world.
Well, we don't have an underground culture when it comes to art at all.
But
yeah, we haven't for a long time.
Hold on, Troy, you gotta bring the computer closer to you. I can't see you. There we go. That's better. All right. So she's got to run and take some kids places, but I just had to add this because you were talking about psalms. But what was it you were saying last night about the psalm singing and current culture right now and rap and stuff?
I was talking about Marcus's post. He was saying how Kendrick is a psalmist, for his false God, and just watching all those people sing along every word that he didn't even know to his own song. Like, he couldn't even get it right, but they were all getting it right. They didn't care. And when you read in the Psalms about like these psalmists presenting their psalms to the congregation, it was same. It was like everybody sang with one loud voice. And can you picture all those Israelites? And and it wasn't like sweet stuff. They were saying some offensive stuff. Look what our God did to your king, also yours. And remember that one time he drowned all of them? Like, that's offensive stuff. That wasn't sweet. Like,
yeah, that's right.
They were at war. These people, as a whole, they just had to have a lot of the same energy that we saw on display. And they were hyped. And look how people are just exegeting his lyrics.
That's been amazing.
Yeah.
I have not seen this type of, the people, somebody said all these literary degrees that people had finally getting put to use because something. And I thought about that. I was like, you're right. People haven't had anything in the culture to make them exegete that. And all of a sudden, their technology is coming into place. They have this hermeneutic that wasn't there before. People were. I watched somebody literally go through and take his verse on what that he did with Future on the first one. His first one that said that's the big three, it's just big me, and went down and found every album that every other rapper has done and the lyric that Kendrick was saying was from somebody else's album.
Always another song title.
It was always another song title from somebody's album, and it just going straight down the list from the whole verse. Basically trying to make the case that what Kendrick is trying to say, y'all are not me. I'm on a whole nother level. He listed basically the whole hip hop culture's albums in that whole, and I watched it. I'm like, I said, I can't believe this is true. I can't believe Kendrick is that good. But
I said the thing is, even if he wasn't so good as to go and make a lyric video, to write a verse that could just read out like a lyric video of every other rapper's songs titles, boom, boom, boom. The fact that someone is exegeting it so closely as to think that he can means a whole lot. Like,
so he still won.
He still wins. He wins the culture. He wins.
The thing that Sharon said when we were talking about this kind of struck me, which was, we couldn't sing a song that had that type of aggression, with a psalm that had that type of aggression about somebody else's false god and praise of our God and not get smashed by everybody in evangelicalism.
We
That's
wouldn't
right.
dare
Could you?
That's
to
right.
sing about a current event or a current giant issue, a current mountain that we need moved in such a visceral way. We wouldn't dare. And if we did, the Christian industry would never play it. It just wouldn't get any airplay.
That's what I said. Write some songs against the trans movement. See what happens. Nobody's going to play that.
You don't have to be offensive. Can
Yeah.
you imagine taking a king's head and then writing a song about it and your whole congregation singing? And
because we don't
generations, they didn't just sing it, they like passed it down to the next generation to generation to generation, and they sang about it, and the other cultures had to go and hear it. Like, woo,
Yeah,
woo, I would sing about your grandpa, but he's super dead because my God took his head. Like, nobody, like, super,
Right.
like,
Right.
super. But we, as psalm singing congregants, like psalm singers across, like, the whole world over, we get really comfortable with singing about thousands of years ago happenings of the sort. We sing about that violence and we sing it all sweet. We'd be like, oh, hold on. Like, oh my God, he came against us, blah, blah, blah. We can do it for them. But right here, what about our giants that need slaying? What about our uncircumcised Philistines? Like, what about us?
That's right.
What are we facing right now? What if Kendrick felt a way about abortion? It would have been done so long ago.
Yeah, that's real tough.
Yeah, that's right.
The other thing too, though, is
can somebody write some psalms against the CIA? That'd be awesome. Can we do that?
This is the thing.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this is exactly the kind of level of that our psalms that we sing in church.
You got to remember,
thousands of years ago.
Hip hop has been writing songs against the FBI and the CIA.
I agree. That's exactly what I'm saying.
But the other thing, though, too, I got to say, though, is that if we don't sing psalms on Sundays, so then we don't ever sing the hard things. So then we're not going to have a muscle flex about our gods that we got to defy and defeat, and these false gods we need to conquer, because we won't even sing the psalms that our forefathers about their conquering. Right? We don't even flex those muscles, so I don't expect somebody.
That's true.
And if they start doing, this is what scares me about some of the movements I see now. If they start doing it and haven't been singing psalms, I just don't trust them.
Right. That's right.
Because you ain't singing the songs of our forefathers. I don't think you have the same muscles, and the things that I think that are driving you now are the same things that I think is driving the other culture. Like, I don't trust you to be able to do and have that type of grit, because you didn't get it the right way. It's like, no, dude, you're fake muscles. You're a bunch of steroids. You ain't get that real.
Yeah, they're Drake. That's Drake.
Dang.
There you go.
But that right, like, that's he's Disney Channel, right? So
it's just spiritual BBL.
BBL.
Spiritual BBL. Oh, can we please coin that? You heard it here first.
BBL singing.
BBL
singing.
Yeah.
You call it BBL? Oh, you've been doing that BBL Sunday.
Right. But that's a lot of like what big conservative is trying to do right now. They're pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into these streaming and these media outlets.
BBL.
And there's no underground culture to be able to actually support what they're building.
Okay.
And it's all built on capital without culture, and that is unsustainable, right? This is why you had Angel and Daily Wire have to come together to do this next movie that they're doing, because they're both losing their butts. But because there isn't anything that's sustaining what they're doing, so no amount of capital can build the underground culture.
Jason, what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say, in England, when they were trying to make the slave trade illegal, you had William Wilberforce, who everybody knows about, because
Yeah.
he was the one that was fighting in the political sphere, and we think that's where the fight was. But what they forget is that you had Hannah More and the playwrights that were out writing plays and poems, and
Culture.
that they were
Okay.
actually changing the hearts of the English people towards the slave trade. They and
Okay.
anywhere, but they couldn't get into the main stages so they were putting it on wherever they could get into a stage. So out with the poor folks, out in the neighborhoods, out in the country, they were putting on their plays, and there was a wave of sentiment against slavery that
Right.
forced even because you had Wilberforce. He actually was told, hey, leave your religion out of politics. We can't get rid of, this is an economic issue, not a religious issue. And
Right.
so he's in there, trying to fight against slavery. Well, all of those people ended up having to vote to end the slave trade in English or with English boats, because of the sentiment of the people that had been shifted by the poets and the storytellers. But they couldn't get into any of the main stages. It wasn't on the main stage in London that it was happening. It was everywhere else. And we just don't tell the story that way because we think that it was that the
That's good.
law
That's
changed the issue, that the law was what fixed it. But what happened was the law changing was evidence that the hearts of the English people were changed.
Hey,
Uh,
that
Jason,
matters.
I want to ask you, part of the reason that I've been so interested in what's happened with Kendrick Lamar and Drake hasn't been because of the beef between the two. And I think Kendrick even said, like, this ain't about records going back and forth. This is about what you see right here, which is Crips, Bloods. I mean, all sorts of different sets was on that stage, like in peace with
holding
each other.
hands.
Yeah, holding
Literally
together. I ain't seen dudes dance together. These gangsters.
Yeah,
That's right.
Crip walking, holding hands. Yeah,
New guys. I didn't even.
not
amazing
since Beats headphones sold. That's the last time.
Hey, you ain't lying. Hey, we got a billionaire finally. Okay, so what I'm trying to figure out is what makes this moment. This is, people talk about the silent majority. This has been a silent minority, but a very strong minority. And whatever Kendrick has done resonates in a very deep way with a bunch of people that really doesn't seem like that they haven't felt like they've been heard, or something. When you do They Not Like Us, part of it bothers me because there is this cultural moment with critical theory that I'm bothered by, that is trying to separate and divide people as much as possible. And one of the things that hip hop has been able to do really well is embrace people from different cultures and environments, and almost has been, in one sense, the idea of what America was supposed to be, where, like, this is who we are, this is us, and you're as much as us as I am, right? And you get to bring something to the table, and in that, it makes all of us become better. It's funny how I think a lot of Americans have forgotten that. Everybody's so busy fighting multiculturalism, which I'm totally fine fighting. I have no problem. I don't like it. I understand what you mean, but cultural blending is a real thing. Like it's a, there are beautiful things that happen when cultures are embraced, and hip hop has been one of the things that said, okay, classical music, yep, jazz music, yep, rock music, yep,
Take that too.
we'll take all of it, right?
Yep.
And we'll give it another second life inside of what we do. It won't get old, right? It'll get birthed again to a new generation, and so it's brought a new generation into everything that you heard from Drake. Everything you heard from Kendrick Lamar's album was sampled from an older record.
Right.
Like, he was once from around the way. That's Gumby. That's Gumby. He was Gumby. Easy Keith. He was once a dog from around the way. And then Metro Boomin took it and made a whole track out of it. Like that's like, and there was another song too. So that was old stuff that they rebirthed and came back from Gumby.
Right.
Yeah, that's some serious crate digging.
You know what I'm saying? It is, and it lived a whole new life and birthed and gave a whole new desire and passion inside of culture. So anybody, I'm wondering like why this moment is so huge for the culture.
I mean, I think it's because it's a rejection of what the corporate trying to hand to them and say, this is you.
Do you think the globalism versus nationalism thing happening inside the?
Yeah, localism probably, because it's about LA, right? And everybody else, you got people in Atlanta that feel about Atlanta the way they feel about LA, and they're resonating.
They can relate,
right?
Right.
The folks in Brooklyn are resonating. Like, yeah, I get you feel about LA the way I feel about New York. That. Whereas Drake is a corporate handout. Here's for you. Let me give you Drake. I think, I think Diddy had become that. I mean, he was probably CIA handout too, but you have this handout that of people saying, "Oh, we're going to control you using your music," and Kendrick is them saying, "No, you're not." I mean, I think that's what's going on as much as anything.
Marcus?
No, I was actually going to make that same point. I think you're right. Like when you talk about that, it's like, oh yeah, there's this LA rap scene, there's this Atlanta rap scene, and like when you were saying that, I was like, do we have a Christian Atlanta music culture? Do we have a Christian LA music culture?
Yeah.
Like where is that?
We do have
right?
It's out.
Yeah, we do have in local churches, right? Is that
no.
You got
talking about more
you got shows, and all these people.
You got
they have a whole kind of sound there, not in the ATL area. You got a sound coming out of LA. You got a sound coming out of Philly.
Yeah.
Well, that was what was kind of the one of the things I think about, like with like Reach Records when they got bought by Capitol, and then Capitol tried to basically corporatize them, and then Lecrae went and bought everything back from Capitol, and whatnot. So you had this whole weird thing where with Lecrae and stuff fighting that same corporate scene and not wanting to do he's like, why am I going to concerts filled with a bunch of white people? And because that was where the record labels were trying to make them go, and so there was a retaliation there. He's like, I want to reach people within my own communities and stuff like that, and I wasn't getting that on the circuit. So I think we have a lot of that too, and so I think the commercialization of Christian arts is really has been really destructive, in reasons, because I believe even more so for the corporatization of Christian media, it is made to basically keep us at bay, right? Like so we're not impactful, right? It's why country music moved Christian music 30 miles south to Franklin, Tennessee, as opposed to being in Nashville. It's because they wanted to control how Christian music sounded, and not make sure that it blended too much with country music, right? So I think there's a lot of that as well that we see. And now, I think there's, with AI and stuff, it's going to completely undermine the need for studio systems and studio funding. It's going to completely undermine it, because I need that special visual effects shot. Well, if I could just put a prompt in and get that visual effects shot real quick and throw it in my movie, I just save $100,000. Why do I need corporate funding for that? Right. So there's going to be this I think that's what we're going to see now is this massive disruption of the corporate studio system model, where people are going to be able to make movies just by writing a prompt. And like legitimate family movie nights with your family in the movies, right? Like that's exactly what's going to be able to take place. And at that point, you just have this massive decentralization where the only thing that's going to rise to the top are the content and stories that identify most with the culture that is watching it. And so I think like that, I think this is that fight between Drake and Kendrick uh over the corporate celebrity. I think that's going to go away. That's part of a bigger fight that we're going to see happen with like AI once AI gets involved in art on a lot more mainstream level.
Baby, I know you got to run. So, do you want to add anything to before you go as for why you think like this resonated so well?
Man, I'm just I think I can agree with what I'm hearing here, because I haven't been able to figure out why it struck such a chord with everybody.
A
A
minor.
Crazy. I'm just glad that it has, particularly if we are now saying, because for the longest time everything's just been like lump it into the Black community, LGBTQ XYZ, throw it into the Black community, everybody will accept it if you just throw it in there, and it's just the worst hodgepodge of every gross thing, as if my Blackness can cover it. It don't. So I am just glad that there is a community of people that have all agreed that at the very least, we don't like pedophilia. You're not like us. Bottom line, just no.
This is something we can agree on, right?
Crips and Bloods on stage dancing,
Right.
not liking pedophiles.
By
We
the
don't
way-
like pedophiles because everybody gets thrown in there. We got the drag queens and all this yuckness.
Yeah.
We got, I'm so mad. Look, I'd be so mad just personally as a woman watching a man try to be me. It's such a blackface move on women all over the world, and I don't know why we're not all pissed about it. But I'll take this. We don't like pedophiles movement. I don't know whether Drake and his people are actually that. What I know is, at the very least, this community of people with their gangster selves have said, we don't like it.
It's been left up to Cell Block 1 to defend children.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Right?
That's right. Yeah.
We've gotten so crazy here that it's left up to a rapper
Yes.
and the Crips and the Bloods to say kids are off the board.
Kids are off
Period.
the board. Meanwhile, in Christian media, how hard did that poor company have to fight last year to get that movie off the ground with the guy going in to go save the kids, from same-said pedophilia? Like, they had to fight and just put it out on their own. Just, here it is to the world. We don't like pedophilia. And it was amazing that it got movie coverage. I'm sorry, I can't even remember the title. It was a big deal. Oh, there we go. Yes. Yeah. It was big, and it should have been it should have just been really easy to pitch that and get it put, everywhere in Christendom at the very least. But not even just Christendom. You don't have to follow Christ to know that ain't right. It's not okay. I'll take this. They are angry, they are energized, they are excited, and they stand behind this one hero doing his leg dance in his red hoodie on this stage. I'll take him. I'll take this moment in history as this is a win. This is a win. I'm glad.
You gotta figure out how to mobilize that. That's really good.
Yeah, I just want to say to any investor out there, there seems to be irrefutable data that there is a market for anti-pedophile content.
Thank you.
So,
thank you.
It's not an economic problem now. Now it's just a guts problem, right?
There
do you have the guts to be able to put in your capital to be able to make a lot of content that comes after this market?
All right, babe. I'll take care of the kids. Thanks for joining us. Bye. Jason, what were you gonna say before Sharon? You got interrupted.
Well, I was just gonna say that I think that the revelations about P. Diddy are actually a part of this whole moment, because it's P. Diddy. He was one of the people that was, I think, a tool to try and make blackness a thing that covered all Black people, so that it could be manipulated and controlled. So to delocalize the
Oh, wait.
metaphysic of black people.
Hold on. That's crazy. I see what you just did there. I think I see what you just did. Tell me if I'm wrong, because I might want you to really work this out. So are you saying that the tribes themselves are getting united into a globalistic understanding of who they are, and they're just pushing them all together, force them into this one sort of conglomerate clunk, and then so that they can move them around? And you're saying Diddy was part of unifying them into this clunk and saying, this is what you are, now function this way.
Right. Yeah. So Diddy was one of the ways that they tried to say you are by turning you into a marketable clump of, a marketable metaphysic, that blackness is a thing that covers all people that have this skin color. That's the way that that's one of the things they've been using to control and move, either, I think, both as a political, a political block, but also just
white folks right now,
economic block. And it's an insult, I think, to say, oh, here is blackness, as if that's a metaphysical category,
right?
Of people that grows out of people. People like you, is the equivalent of what the globalists are saying through guys like Diddy.
Well, who's the conservative Diddy? Because I'm seeing a lot of Christian folks go that same way, where they're getting clumped into this same group and they're able to be manipulated, because that's exactly what's happening with a lot of white folks too, in the same way. A part of what I'm seeing in just the idea of what Anglo is, like Anglo is getting lumped into just white pigmentation. That's not what Anglo is.
Right. Well, it's where you remove it from a historical development, you remove it from the place, location, you remove it and say, you people are this way.
Right.
And I just think that's a false, it's an evolutionary, I think fundamentally an evolutionary understanding, that out of our biology grows our metaphysic, who we are. And I don't think it's a Christian way of approaching people, a Christian way of approaching society, any of that sort of thing. It's a communist way, honestly.
Yeah, I went to a school that was 90% black from middle school all the way through high school.
Well, you got picked up a lot, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, but like but I would still identify. I would still identify with that culture, even though
I know why you
the
got
color of my skin.
It wasn't the color of your skin. You ran your mouth. I know you.
I did run my. I ran my mouth. That's for sure. I sure did. Yeah, I deserve. I was bored in school, so what's more fun? I just thought it was fun to be bullied, because it was way more entertaining. You got your adrenaline rush. Yeah, that's funny. It's funny. That's you bring that up. Me and my wife, when we did foster care training, you have the counselor come and they ask you. They asked me, they said, were there any traumatic events in your life? Like any sort of trauma you had? And I was like, I was bullied in school. And she's like, how did that affect you? And I was like, it didn't. I was like, it didn't. That's probably the most traumatic thing that ever happened to me.
Thing I was always doing.
Yeah, it's just what we did. Yeah, so but the point is, Jason, me and you were talking about this too, is like when you talk about how culture is based off race, how that's a lie. Like Rick Rubin's one of the greatest hip hop producers of all time, is a white guy, right? Yeah. And so he did Dr. Dre, and then he came in and produced all of Johnny Cash's last albums. He did Jay-Z, right? He did Jay-Z's albums, and then he did Beastie Boys, and then he comes in and does Johnny Cash's final albums, which really propelled Johnny Cash into stardom at a level he hasn't seen before. So so this idea that it's just based on the color of your skin is ridiculous. And of course, like Eminem's, who's one of the best rappers of all time, there's no question about it, is a white guy. So
Yeah, all time.
yeah, I'd make the case.
It was bad. It was bad. I ain't gonna mess with him. Him bad all time. I don't know. I mean,
Okay.
You wouldn't put him in the big three?
there's no big three, bro.
Not anymore.
I'm gonna tell you this right now. M wouldn't want to touch Kendrick.
No.
Not
No.
right now.
Not right now, he wouldn't.
M didn't even show up out there. Drake was there. All kinds of people was out there. M wasn't.
No, Dre was there.
Dre was there, yeah.
Dre, I'm sorry, Dr. Dre, not Drake, but
Yeah.
I mean, Drake was there in spirit. It was his funeral. Of course he was there.
That's called in effigy. He's there in effigy.
Part of the things that I think, so what I see happening, this will make the turn back to what I thought we were going to talk about. Somehow we got really distracted. This is just a fun, I'm just enjoying talking. I can't open up my Instagram. If I found my phone right now, I promise you I'm going to have 7 or 8. I don't know if it's the algorithm that's doing it for me, or if it's or if it's just that big in the, you know what I mean? Like, this is really resonating with a lot of people. Everybody's digging deep in here. So I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the algorithm just ginning it up. And so it feels like it's everywhere. But when I open up my phone, what Kendrick Lamar is doing or has done just keeps hitting. And I haven't found one person who is willing to give Drake like, nah, he won that. I haven't found one person.
No.
Now I found maybe 2 people who were pushing back at Kendrick because he's like, how are you going to talk about Drake and you got Dr. Dre up there on stage? So, I found like 2 people talking about that, but I ain't seen nobody saying Drake won this. But the thing that I thought was interesting about this is that in the middle of this, all this kind of not like us line had so much sway, and it became very, very racial. I didn't like that part. That part I didn't, because I don't think there's no way to really separate it from the racial aspect of it, because everything that we see now is only racial. And I really appreciate what you did, Jason, just now too, talking about the idea of no. There's the actual battle is going on is localism versus kind of globalism, like this and this kind of freedom that I think we are traditionally used to having in America with our localism, right? Like we are based in that. Would you call this Baptistic culture? What
You mean the globalism?
No, I know. I mean, when people think independence, self-sufficiency, they don't think of that in covenantalism,
Right. Yeah.
right?
I mean, I think that we have bought into the idea that that the things that hold us together are politics, or now it's race is the thing that is.
Yep.
This is the thing that's coming to the surface because it can be grasped without faith. It doesn't require faith to as a self-defining situation, right? It's biological. So if you say something like, "Oh, I think race is a false division within people groups," immediately people start saying, "Hey, well, let me give you some stats. Here's the cancer rates. Here's this sort of thing. These are all on racial lines, right?" Well, that's a by sight way of dividing people up. It's not a by faith way of dividing people up. So it requires faith to say, I think that actually the covenants that have been established, the historical covenants that have been established, that's how people are divided up. And so, if you've got a white person in I don't know, France, for example, that I'm not more connected to that person than my Christian black neighbor who lives across the street. Right. That's not, there's not a, because we share skin color. That's not a connection that's somehow more real. But that's how critical theory wants us to divide. Right.
Isn't he
Critical theory.
Anglo though? So wouldn't you guys be real close?
A French person is not an Anglo. What are you talking
Oh, okay. Yeah, just
And see, here's one of the things that I find really frustrating about this is because, like, I have actually been studying and teaching Anglo-Saxon poetry for 15 years. Put all of this time into the recovery of an understanding of the Anglo-Saxon poetic tradition, the Anglo-Saxon cultural tradition, defending Anglo-Saxon common law theory, and then people come along and they're like, well, let's talk about the importance of Anglos, and Hitler didn't do anything that bad. Hey, Hitler's not an Anglo-Saxon. Back off. What are you talking about? Why are you, what is going on that this word Anglo is being
yeah, that's right.
Right. That drives me nuts that you have this that the people that are saying that are coming in saying, that they want to defend Anglo-Saxon and Anglo anything, don't actually haven't been doing the work to know what it is. And you pulled the string that
Well,
gets the rant.
Well, part of the reason I'm pulling the string is because I think it's important to know that the things that actually resonate with us, the things that actually that we're trying to reach for and grab to have some sort of community are actually the stories. That's
Right.
and what critical theory and what critical theory has done, and the secularist worldview has done, has rearranged the idea of the story that we should be connecting to. And so it's telling us a different story, and we're resonating somewhat with that story because we know we need a story, but we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And
but the concept of race that we're grabbing onto is a concept that was used to move people out of Christianity, right? It's the road that people took out of the faith. It's the you go back to it's an enlightenment category that was developed to be able to say, here is what it looks like for mankind to be in amongst the animals. So instead of being over the animals as the image of God with dominion, they moved mankind in amongst the evolutionary tree, or the tree of the species tree, and then they arranged mankind according to the subspecies, the way you would dogs, right, or the way you would monkeys. And they say here is the different kinds of mankind on the biological tree. Well, that was the way out of a Christian understanding of mankind as the image of God, the one that has dominion over it all, the one who's not an animal, right? That's not, we don't hold to that view as Christians. That's an evolutionary view. In fact, we've been fighting off evolution for generations now. So I don't want to let it in by the back door. After we finally kicked it out the front door, it's but I do think that this is evidence that we haven't, as a church, we haven't passed on to the next generation a deep covenantal identity.
that's right. No,
It says, understand you and your neighbor by faith, not according to the flesh.
When you say, oh man, there's so much I want to talk about there. Okay. My wife just texted me. She's still listening somehow. She said, "You better preach." I didn't even know you were still on. That's funny. The thing that I think, so what I see happening inside of Oh man, even with the Kendrick Lamar thing, they're the groping for identity inside of the Christian conservative movement that's groping for identity. Um, the identity that I think we're looking for, and I could be wrong about this, but the one thing that I saw that resonated when I was looking at Equalizer 3, that storyline, that whole setup to me was the thing that I thought was everybody should resonate with, that cross um, cultural boundaries and pigmentation, right? Uh, and if you don't know, Equalizer 3 is basically Denzel. Um, you've seen the first. If you haven't seen the first, they're great. They're great films. But Denzel is he's doing a hit on some drug dealers. He's taking them out, and he gets shot. He ends up getting harmed, and he needs to go rejuvenate. And he gets found by a priest and nurses him back to life. And as he's being nursed back to life in this culture, he starts seeing children playing, old people in the society taking care of kids. They have movie nights as a culture, almost like reminded you of like Brooklyn used to do, kind of this whole situation there. And they have people, fathers who are running corner store restaurants and caring for each other, giving food where they see that people need food, and priests running to help other folks when somebody loses their stuff. They come and help them get their stuff back and rebuild society from where it's torn down. And he sees this, and he's just in love with it, because this is nothing like the world that he's been in as a killer. He's like, well, I take from folks, bad guys, right? And he's fallen in love with it. But the thing that makes this place more amazing than any other place is the idea of a woman who comes up to him and basically asks him while he's sitting down having his coffee. She serves him coffee every day that he comes in, and she asks him, "Who cooks for you?"
Yeah, right.
And
Right.
he couldn't even imagine, like, the question is so foreign to him. He's just, what do you mean, who cooks for me? He's like, who cooks for you? Who cooks you dinner? I do. And she's like, I'm going to cook for you. I'm going to let you taste all of this that we have. And so this, like, every man, and this goes back to the story I was telling earlier when we first started, when the guy is talking about, hey, I thought this girl was into me because she was being so nice, and she really wasn't. She was just being nice. But I'm so not used to having that type of interaction with the woman that it was everything that I was struck by it. And she was just being kind. She wasn't even being sexual any kind of way or trying to hit on me. I was just, wow, a nice woman. And for him, it made him recalculate everything about the world after he met a woman who was nice to him, because he's like, whoa, that in that short interaction about somebody with someone who wasn't even interested in me in a relationship built me up, just being kind to me. I think, Jason, you have a book on kindness, don't you? You got a book on that, don't you?
I do, yeah.
Everybody, it's a really good book.
Yeah, it's called In Pursuit of Kindness.
In Pursuit of Kindness. And so I started thinking about this, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is the garden all over again. The whole movie is the story of the garden. It's a biblical story where you got Adam, who's placed in the garden, who's got a wonderful culture around him. And guess what? In the garden, there's a serpent. He's got bad guys that are there. And the thing that makes Denzel want to fight like he's never fought before is because he sees this serpent, these guys as drug dealers and these bad guys in the community wanting to destroy this place that has nursed him to life and has given.
He says, you know, he's known justice, he's known vengeance, but this town has taught him to know peace. And he says, you're not going to take that away from me. And so, you know, that, I mean, and also too, there's this amazing scene, I think you alluded to it, where they're all sitting around and they're watching a movie, and this old lady comes and gives him some sort of fruit for his tea. It says it's for your tea, because he was known for drinking tea. And then the lady says, they've accepted you into the culture now. Like it wasn't a race thing. It was they're giving him food and movies and music, and there's so much more to race wasn't even part of it at in that point, but there was this acceptance of being brought into the culture, and they did that with food and wine, and
I forgot about that part.
yeah,
Well,
and
we've been trying to fight a culture war without culture, because our culture builders we sent off instead of making so they could stay at home and build houses. We sent them off to work for some corporation somewhere, and sent them into the some to build some office culture somewhere.
Well, stop being poetic and say what you really want to say, Jason.
I'm saying that a culture, the heart of a culture is a woman busy at home. I mean, that's the heart of a culture. And we said no thanks. And now we're like, hey, we're trying to fight a culture war. Well, we don't have a culture to fight with. So I think we got to, until we start rebuilding, what do we think? How do we think we're going to win without? We say, hey, we're going to defend the garden, but the Eve's not in it. So why?
That's exactly, you are hitting exactly the point that I wanted to hit, is that there is not going to be any sort of man that wants to defend the garden if he doesn't have an Eve. He's got to have an Eve, right? Like that is, and it's amazing. And I think a lot of some of the things that when dads aren't in culture, you don't get protection. You don't get protection, then you lose your daughters. You lose your wife. You lose your wife and your daughters, and now you don't have anything to reboot yourself. So now you got a generation of just trying to, how do I keep? I'm kind of going through this right now too, where there's not been 3 generations of a married couple that me and Sharon can find in between our families. Right? Well, that creates certain types of people.
mm-hmm.
And so at some point you're going to have to hit the reset button and be like, okay. And I'm thinking, Jason, what are you going to say?
Well, I was just going to say, the problem is, one of the things that people hear when you start talking about this is they start thinking in terms of rules and laws, and
yes.
right.
Yes.
What, like, are you saying that a woman isn't allowed to work outside the home? Is that, are you trying to set up a rule? But that's not, I mean, that's not even the argument. I mean, you've got in the book of Numbers, you've got the daughters of Manasseh that are lawyers in front of Moses, right? They come out and they make an argument to Moses that they ought to be able to own property. And he's like, yep, that's true.
Yep.
That's a good legal argument. And then Joshua has to put it into practice, and when they get to the land. And so it's not a question of that. It's a question of what is the most wonderful, beautiful thing that you can find. It's Eve safe in the garden, using all that she has to build something beautiful to give as a gift. And we don't value that, right? We think homemaker is an insult, even though Jesus says, I'm going to go make a home for you, right? It's an image of God issue if we think homemaker is an insult. That's all you're going to do is make home. It's like, what's the best thing you're going to do? I mean, that's the reason men go to war. The reason men kill dragons is so that the garden can be a safe enough place to build a home in. I mean, that's we don't just kill dragons for fun. We kill dragons for because women are valuable and dragons attack women, right? That's the reason behind all the dragon slaying in the first place.
I think so can I go from the place of restoring back to some sort of normalcy, because I think everybody, there's a transitional period.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think this is
transitional period where
yeah.
that we're going through right now. And I've had to realize this. It's like there's so much that I want to do and things that I want to build and the cultures that around me that I'm like, okay, this is where I want my kids to be at. But I have to realize, wait, I'm at a foundation place. I'm at a very foundational point. And a lot of the things that I want to do, I can't do right now because of what I have to build so that I do have the type of woman that says, who cooks for you? Right. I want to make those type of women. Right.
Yeah.
Everybody's thinking about making the kind of men that want to go slay dragons. I'm fine with that. I like that. I got 3 sons. I'm going to make those guys too. I also want to make the kind of women that make men want to go slay dragons.
Mhm.
Right.
Right. And so in order to do that, I have to build a certain site. And this is very important. I'm glad you said this in faith, because that is it. I think some guys are thinking, they hear what you're saying. We all agree. But then the process they go about putting a woman in the garden is by hitting her over the back of the head with a bat, dragging her into the house, sitting her down and saying, this is your home. Go make it amazing. Right. And it's like, that's not how it works.
Right. Because it starts by learning to value feminine glory. And I think that's what we don't have, a culture that values feminine glory. We don't have a culture that adds social pressure to value feminine glory, right? We have a culture that fights against it. There's a really funny comic out there that's making the underground circle right now, and she was raised by 2 lesbians, and she's got a really funny set of jokes about how you'd think being raised by 2 lesbians would make me more feminine, but it actually made it impossible for me to learn how to be feminine, because it turns out and this is the punchline, is it turns out it's a dad that teaches you how to be feminine. It's a really funny set of jokes, and I think we're going to see more and more of that, right? That the devaluing of feminine glory that is really what feminism has become, or has turned into, or turned out to be the end game, was the devaluing of feminine glory. That's something that we just need to start restoring, right? You need to start valuing what your wife and your daughters bring to the table, and then because everything in a culture grows out of what you glorify, right? You get more of what you glorify, you get more of what you value, and we as a society, we have devalued women for multiple generations now. And so it begins there, by learning how to value and honor the women in our lives.
What does that look like? Or kind of on a, what the end goal is to value the feminine glory. What does that look like on a daily basis, though? Like practical things.
Yeah. Well, so the beginning of it is learning to say thank you, because Adam is given a mission that he can't do on his own. And then the gift that he's given is Eve, and she's not given commands about, here's your part of the mission, right? It's Adam's mission. Everything that she adds to it is a gift. So Adam needs to say thank you for her and for everything that she brings, right? Because he's given a mission and a set of goals that he can't do on his own, and his thankfulness is what begins making it safe for her to add her glory and her wisdom and everything that she brings, to add that to his mission, right? That's what submission means, to come under the mission of someone else. And that's what Adam needs. He needs somebody that will submit, right? That will bring herself to his mission and say, your mission is now my mission too, so that they can then be on the same mission together. And this is what but that beginning with being thankful for anything and everything that she brings to the table is really, really important, because you can't multiply, you can't be fruitful and multiply unless she's there as a part of the mission. So I think it begins there, and then a husband understanding that a big part of his role is to go get the resources that she needs to glorify the space, glorify the garden, glorify what God God has given her. If you want her to keep a home, you've got to provide a home for her, provide the resources. Do the labor, go out into the land, get the resources, bring them back, and then so that she can say, okay, I'm going to do this. And then also, be a person that is easy to follow, which means you're looking to grow in wisdom, you're working hard, you're submitting to God, submitting to your elders, submitting to. I mean, it's really easy to glorify our ancestors. It's hard to submit to elders, to the people right in front of you. The and be the kind of husband that says, "Hey, we're following Jesus. We're be the kind of husband that when she's having a difficult day emotionally, you're steady for her, right? Be the kind of husband that is easy to follow, because that's what she has vowed to do in the marriage. And you don't want to. Some of the best advice I got early on. Oh, it was actually in my premarital counseling, with which I did with my uncle, who's he's was a great pastor, and he was a reformed charismatic and just loved the Lord. And one of the things that he and his
charismatic, I didn't even know those existed. I like it.
oh yeah
I know.
He and his wife were doing our premarital counseling together, and one of the things they said is, they'd been married 25 years or something. They said there have been 2 times when they weren't able to come to consensus, where she had to say, okay, this is here's the deal, we're doing that because even though I think it's a bad idea, I'm following my husband into this new phase of things. Said in 25 years they had worked hard to build the kind of relationship where they could consistently come to consensus, because he valued what she valued what he saw, and together they saw better. Right? And they knew that and understood that. So, but in those 2 times, because he had been that kind of husband, she said, "Yeah, it was hard, but I also trusted him, so I knew that he wanted what was best for our family. He never had, he didn't have a consistent track record of being selfish. So I knew that what he was doing, what he was asking me to do, he thought was best, even if I didn't." And so she followed him into battle, so to speak. So if you're the kind of husband that if you're the kind of dad that your children will charge the gates of hell with a garden hose with you, then your wife is going to be happy to follow. And then I think, building a culture in your home that values feminine glory, so that when if your daughters are resisting it, they're resisting receiving something that they can see as good and see as valued, right? Because you're raising sinners, right? It's not like if you do everything right, you're gonna have kids that are like, yes, I'm always gonna do what's right. You're raising sinners that have the same heart bent away from goodness and truth and righteousness and beauty. And so you have to build the kind of culture in your home, or grow the kind of culture in your home, where to walk away from it is to walk away from the joy, walk away from the glory, walk away from the good things. So that they're not just thinking like, oh, I'm just escaping oppressive reformed theology here, right? They're walking away from a table that they know they will miss. They're walking away from those times when you got to do dishes together as a family and had so much fun. All of those things, that you're building a culture in your home that your kids don't want to walk away from. A big part of that is honoring your wife, and then being the master of ceremonies at home, being the one that says, okay, what kind of joy are we going to have together tonight? What kind of what books should we read? What's to be the one that's leading the way. When your kids find a new band or a new artist or something, that they say, oh man, I can't wait to tell dad about this, because I know how much he enjoys life and enjoys things, right? So I mean, so many homes are built on fear, because we really don't believe that God is as gracious as he is. We really don't believe that the blood of Christ actually takes away our sin and our shame, and so we don't have to be afraid anymore. That it's a relief to leave the home, and we got to avoid that. Was that too much?
No, it's great. It just sent me down a couple of different rabbit holes in my mind. There's I could actually end the show right there, and we don't have a lot of time. I know we got to run here in a second.
Can I just brag on my wife real quick? You're talking about how she prepares a home for the man so the man can go and slay dragons. Well, every morning my wife makes me coffee. She has this giant coffee bar, and she writes these notes on the cup. But it's like it'll say "Pray for strength today," "Praying for strength today," or something like that. Some of my favorite things my wife does, man. She gives me the resources I need to go and fight the day with a cup of coffee, but also just that encouragement and prayer and stuff like that is like that. That's what men need, man.
Yeah,
like that's exactly like
that's what we run on.
Yeah, that's what we run on: coffee and notes.
Well, I think it's just because it works the other direction too, right? If you're a wife and you say, what does my husband need? Respect is at the heart of it. That and men are generally pretty simple creatures in the sense that, like, if a woman says, I really like you, they'll run on that for weeks.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't take that much for but I think a lot of women withhold thinking, they withhold respect, thinking he'll work harder to get it if I withhold it, if it's harder to get, when it actually functions the exact opposite, right? That a man will the more respect he gets, the harder he'll chase it. I mean, it's I mean, I've been reading Dante's the poem that he wrote as a series of sonnets, actually, that he wrote as a young man, before he wrote. It was really, he didn't know it, but it was in preparation to write his masterpiece, the Commedia. But he talks about the devastating moment when he went to shake Beatrice's hand, the love of his life, and she didn't shake his hand because there was a rumor that he had mistreated a woman, and he's working through it. He's on the page. He's like, did I mistreat this woman? Because what I did was I really loved Beatrice, but I sort of led this woman on so that it wouldn't get out that I was really in love with Beatrice. And so I did actually lead this woman on. And he says, when she wouldn't shake my hand because she said, you're the kind of guy that leads a woman on and then doesn't follow through. That's not virtuous. He said, I realized that I needed to be more virtuous to be close to her. And so, this like, and for years he ran on this interaction that was, are you going to be more virtuous? If you be more virtuous, you can, maybe we can be friends. This invitation to friendship drove him for years. So I think a woman, a wife that says, I'm going to be, I'm going to be explicit with my respect in front of the kids, to my husband. I'm going to be purposeful with my respect is pouring gasoline in an engine that in a way that only she can.
What do you do when you don't have a culture of women like that? Because here's what I'm thinking about. We were just talking about the culture with Drake and Kendrick Lamar and all that's going on there. And part of me is like, man, that's just such a dying culture because women aren't. What Sharon said was really important. It's like at least it's one of the cultures making a very clear statement that child pedophilia ain't gonna happen here. Period. Right? Like, we just not gonna do that one. Like, we ain't got nothing else. This is the last bastion of hope. We ain't going that way. But what about? I mean, going to the place where it's like, how about we want men to stay married to their wives, and we're gonna create a culture of shame when men don't do that. Like, that's your bride, my guy. Like, that's
Right.
your kids. Like, and it's funny because part of the dissing in back and forth between Drake and Kendrick is the fact that they ain't taking care of their kids and they won't claim their kids, or you beat your wife, or there's no relationship between. And it's funny because those used to be like markers of pride.
Right.
It's like now it's like we don't. That's you, that dude. You can't be that guy and still be commercial or whatever.
Yeah, in the 90s, they would brag that they had kids up and down the West Coast.
Right, exactly. Now it's like, nah, I can't. I take care of my kids. Like my kids, I don't like their mama, but I take care of my kids. Right? It's like, huh? I don't even get that one. But what do you do to restore something like that that's broken, where you don't have women who? It's funny because I've seen some of the hardest, toughest guys who are criminals meet a woman who is comfortable in her skin and mesmerize them to the point that everything they want to do is good. All of a sudden, they'll open up doors. They ain't never opened up a door for anybody in their life. They'll open up doors like, yes, ma'am, how you doing? You need some help with these groceries. And this is like, they out of nowhere. But when you don't have women like that, then guys treat them like men. Right? Like you get a different kind of culture. There's no, which is unfortunate what the trans thing is doing. It's making guys treat women like men. And so how do you
there was that line in the Kendrick Lamar song about the movie with about the kid that wanted to be a white rapper.
Oh, B-Rad. Wasn't it B-Rad?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So you had that, which I think is the equivalent, right? Where of the trans, it was a like he's kind of mocking the trans culturalism. You know, I'm going to adopt the culture of somebody else rather than be comfortable in my own culture. But I mean, I think that you can't grow a garden overnight, right? You can't grow a garden in a fit of excitement. It just doesn't work that way. You have to say, okay, well, let's start where I am and grow and build and
you're saying it's generational. Yeah.
You know, and say I am going to honor my daughters such that they expect to be honored, right? That they have no desire for some guy that is not going to honor them because they're used to it. Teach your sons that how to honor their sister. Teach your daughters how to honor their brothers. You know, for who they are, right? To love that their brothers are masculine, you know, and to honor that, and to love that their sisters are feminine, and you know, and to be one of the things that I talked to my kids about a lot as I was raising them was the way you treat your sister is going to train them on who to bring home as a brother-in-law for you. The way that you treat your brother is going to train them on who to bring home as a sister-in-law to you. If you want them to bring home a good sister-in-law for you, then be a good sister. If you want them to go, because their expectations on how they're going to be treated, on how they should expect to be treated, are being built by their siblings. Right? So if they're if if they're bullied by their siblings, then they're going to think that some guy that bullies them is loving them, right? Because that's what love looks like, right? That's how my brothers treated me. But if they're honored by their brothers, then they're going to go out and some guy that bullies them, they're going to be like, no, that's not how you treat a girl if you love her, right? I'm looking for a guy that treats me well, because that's how my brothers treated me. And then you get a good brother-in-law, right? You get a good sister-in-law. You get somebody that's added to the family, not somebody that tears it apart.
Is that
So
is the cultural? It's not just in the house thing. I mean, this all flows from the house out into the culture, right? So then when the guy, I'm thinking about the conversation we were having earlier about the guy who was like, hey, yo, when I thought that girl was feeling me, but she was just being kind. Is also the reverse true, is like, well, how are you treating the women in around you and the culture that you're in? Because that's what you're going to get back from them at the end of the day.
yeah.
Right? Like, so if this is the type of women that you're seeing where you're around, you got to be asking the question, how are men treating you?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If every man in your life is looking to get something from you, is looking to leverage their power against you, then you're gonna be defensive like that, right? So, I mean, it's something that everywhere I've gone, I've always tried to explain this to young people, explain this to the teenagers. When I would teach in a school, trying to talk to the students about this, because I think it's something that it can start at any moment in any place. It's not it can if you get a teenage boy that suddenly gets a hold of this idea and realizes, oh man, I need in order to do the things God's calling me in my life, I need a helper. But I need a helper that can be on mission with me, that's going to treat me well. So I better start treating women better, or I'm going to end up with a woman that doesn't treat me well. Right? Those sorts of it can start at any place and any time, because it's something you do by faith, right? By grabbing hold of the idea that God has called you to get hold of the world and change it.
We didn't even get to have stuff I want to talk about today. But it was cool. I don't think I've fleshed out all of my thoughts on the Kendrick Lamar Drake setup. I mean, I don't think hip hop has had a better moment in 20 years.
That's for sure.
And just like, guys, just wait till there's CREC, inner city urban church plants, man. It's going to change the world.
Between that,
change the world.
Yeah, between that and what Sharon was saying, I think was pretty hefty, is in the idea of, we don't know how to take victory laps either, or create a moment in saying, and if we do it the wrong way. Like to see the setup and to see these two different rivals happening. You got the people of God and you got the world, and to see this moment and the fact that there isn't anybody thinking, who is this uncircumcised Philistine that defy the armies of God? Right. And the way that we think we're going to do it is by in our own strength. We just so think we're going to win this in our own strength, instead of saying, no, this is, you don't get to talk to God's people like this. Like, and then to have that kind of faith that, nah, I'm not the biggest dude, I'm not the most valuable person, but I'm not going to let God's fame and God's name and God's glory be treated with disrespect. And I'm watching these idol worshipers look at hip hop in that way, see hip hop going through this kind of blasphemy, if you will, and getting so turned up about it and be like, I'm not gonna let that happen. Like, that's just, I'm not. And I'm just like, wow. And the way Sharon was talking about, like, there's a whole bunch of songs, but we couldn't sing about any we can't sing about any victories. Mm-hmm. I remember, like, when COVID happened, like that was the most I've seen a moment in culture. This is why I wasn't happy in one sense that it ended, because I didn't feel like we got all the gunk out yet, right? Where people were starting to actually say, oh, singing the Bible is actually a way of fighting back biblically. It's like, yeah, that's, and we're infantile in that way. We haven't, you know.
Well, this is why it was so valuable when the governor of Washington told the churches you can't sing anymore, because all of a sudden you had churches go, oh wait, you don't want us to sing, and you had some churches, unfortunately, that just complied immediately, but other churches that said, oh, okay, let's double up, let's sing twice as loud, let's apparently this is where the threat is in their mind, so we need to double down on it. I think that was something that I wish that we kind of wish would happen again, although I don't at all.
No, exactly. I don't want to be in the, but I feel like that I feel like we're going to have to go through it pretty soon again. You know,
It's going to be a different thing. I think
yeah, it will definitely be a different thing.
There were a lot of people that didn't come back to church after COVID. It was a significant cleansing moment, in a good way.
I think that's what's happening in the other side too. That when I see stuff like this, I know this is not accident. When you see what's going on with Drake and Lamar, that this whole thing, it is not for naught. Yeah, it's something is going on here. There's a swell underneath this, and I think we should be paying a little closer attention to the whole setup than we are. And it means something. It really does mean something. I don't even know yet all it means and where it's going. But the fact that Kendrick Lamar decided to do this, and then the Amazon thing, the whole setup, what he's doing, it feels orchestrated to make a turn in a particular direction. It doesn't just feel like it's happening organically. This was very intentional, it feels like, you know, and I just ain't seen nothing like it. I ain't seen nothing like it. You know, I want to, you know, who I'd like to talk to a little bit about this too would be Shobaraka.
Yeah, he'd be really interested.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see, because it's Shobaraka, you know, yeah, no, whatever. He might not even have a, you know, but I'd love to know what his take is, because something is happening and I don't think people see it, but it feels like there's a cleansing happening. There feels like
we don't see it because we're very reactionary, and when we critique non-Christian art, right, we're just like, Kendrick, why would you even, like, that guy's a, you know, pagan, heathen, you know, adulterer, why would you even reference his name? It's like, well, because we believe in classical education, right? Like you like you can look at the arts of other people and take a presuppositional approach to it and go, well, where's the image of God in this? Even though it's a lot of it's immoral and stuff, you could still see image of God in it. And we don't look at art like that. We are Christians. Jason, you've said this before. Christians are the absolute biggest when it comes to cancel culture, right? Like, you know, this is why Christian comedians have to go to secular comedy clubs to work out their bits before they go to churches, because they can't bomb in front of a church, right? Like, you know, we've had discussions
with pantyhose in front of a church.
That's right. Yeah. Right. You know, and so, you know, there's not an underground church comedy scene. It doesn't exist. It's the underground Christian comics go to the secular comedy clubs because they know they can bomb there, and they can still be invited back. And so, you know, that's like, we have a massive problem when it comes to our reactionary response to non-Christian art. And that has an impact too. And, you know, a lot of that is, you know, the pure flicks version of movies that we've accepted as this is what a Christian movie is, when it's not. And we've embraced that wholeheartedly into every form of art where it can't be offensive to anybody, right? The 5-year-old or the 95-year-old, the man or the woman, like, nobody can be offended when they watch Christian art, that's why there is no Christian comedy, because Christian comedy usually requires offending people. And so we have to have a bigger spine and backbone when it comes to discussing arts in general than what we currently do, especially art that's not from our camp.
Yeah, and I think we need to get rid of our nihilistic view of art because we only judge things based on what's not in it. And we don't have a positive vision for what we're trying to actually accomplish.
Well, it's Gnosticism too, right? Where it's like Kendrick Lamar cannot do anything good. Like none of his music, none of his lyrical ability, none of it can be good because he's not a Christian. Well,
He doesn't have the secret knowledge.
Yeah, he doesn't have the secret knowledge, right? And so everything that he creates is evil and wicked. And you know, and that's not true, and that's not realistic with the world we live in. And that's a massive problem as we have this Gnostic view of arts and culture. You know, and I would say technology as well. We have a Gnostic view of technology. You see the people talking about AI being inherently evil. I've had those discussions. You know, and that results in us not investing capital and building out things that can rightly attack the problems we do see rightly,
or just have them say so inside of markets. And this is really Jerry Boyer. He's got a company where he's been telling people, listen, these large companies, most of the people that are shareholders in them are conservatives.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that they don't say nothing. They're passive. They're very passive, and they just let it go. And then they complain online. They complain in the politics circle, but they never ever. And so they never ever engage as if, hey, I'm a shareholder. I want to talk to you guys as a shareholder and let you know. I thought we were about the money. I thought we were about turning profit so that I can make more money, you can make more money, and this company can grow, and we can all make more money. This right here don't make us money. Why are we doing it? And I think he said something like 60% of most of the large companies, most of the people on there are conservative people who don't say anything and whine and complain and create fits, and then they don't actually go and present a case before the board, and so then we just get run right over. And that's the same thing when it comes to the AI or the technology. We go on whine, we complain about it, and then we make our moral stance somewhere over here that has no place at all to influence what's going on in the culture, and then we're mad.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that. I mean, that's a whole nother show. But I mean, a lot of it is just we're okay with burying our talents in the sand, getting a passive income, a small return, and we don't want to do anything risky with our capital or build stuff outside of our generation. Me and Jason have talked to people and been in meetings, and they're raising millions and millions of dollars for movies that 55-year-olds are going to watch, and a teenager is not going to care about. And you just can't convince them otherwise that there's this entire market out here that's completely unexplored, completely untouched. Nobody's building stuff for them. And in 10 years from now, nobody's going to care about anything they do, because once all the boomers die, then, there's going to be zero. It's going to be zero things. Like nobody's watching Fox News right now under 55. Like, what is Fox News going to do? There is no up and coming younger conservative news brand at all. It doesn't exist. And so like there's a lot, like for some reason we just build things for our own age group and don't take the risk on building out new markets, which is, that's how MTV got built. That's how Adult Swim and Nickelodeon and, all these major art brands were resulted in. So, but I think when you have that Gnostic view of art where, or a view that art is not valuable, because a postmodern view of art where you say art has no value, there's no difference between a good movie or a banana duct taped to a wall. If anything can get $100,000 valuation, then why would I put my money in it? And then you just stuck investing in B2B SaaS and real estate plays, which is a majority of our. So there's not like because we don't see the art or the artist as inherently valuable.